April 8th, 2018, week 15, just a bit of a review for what we've known for the last week trading-wise and what I'm looking at for the week ahead. Apologies for the missing in action for the last few weeks. Been a bit mobile and busy with day job and things like that. So I have still been doing those reviews, but obviously not recording, just doing on a personal review on a Sunday rather than going to the trouble of editing videos. So quickly put on a few trades towards the last week or so. Just step through in no particular order. Aussie yen was the first sort of short that I had open, so you can still see I've still got the fib lines there, so I shorted just above that sort of level, largely based in line with the sort of top of this prior pullback. I sort of expected it to pull back to there, which it did. Unfortunately, I was stopped out for break even. It sort of pulled down, ended up getting to about that 2 to 1, and I sort of moved my stop up to break even. I was expecting it to fall further. I was expecting to fall back down towards this 80.4 level. Unfortunately, it sort of kept pushing up, so I kept a tight stop, and unfortunately, it's backfired and I stopped out. It has since fallen down further. So maybe should have held, but could just easily gone the other way as well. So I do still like the look of the short for that one. So it's one I'll probably look at early this week. Might put a pending up there if it does want to get filled again. I'd be happy to take another chomp at the bit at around that level. It's still my initial reasons for entering the trade haven't really changed. It's a nice sort of level to short from. So on the daily, it's got that sort of precedent. It's pulled up there twice now, so I'll possibly put on another short there, towards the top of that corrective after this impulsive move down, and chase that 80.4. The other trade I had, which was unfortunately not as successful, was the pound US dollar. I actually shorted that probably about there, I would say. From memory, the port's down there, so where did I short it from? $1.40.17. So, yeah, right about there, pretty close. Unfortunately, we stopped out pretty rapidly with that. I am still liking the look of a short for this pair, even though it is sort of look a bit uptrendy. I do like how fast this has sort of fallen down with the sort of lower lows and on the H4, and just the impulsiveness of these moves. You know, it's sort of fallen from that $1.42 level quite quickly. It's rallied up, spent twice as long going up, but achieved half the distance, then fell twice as hard in half the time, and it's sort of gone sideways since then before dropping again. Another trade that I probably will look at early this week, potentially very early in the week, is I'll possibly look to short from there again. And I'm shorting at a high level. I could probably chase it all the way up, but even though I have been burnt, I do still like the look of that for a short. Even on the hourly chart there, you can see there's a lot of rejection towards the back end of last week, but obviously going into New York close or on a Friday afternoon carries a little bit less weight, so I may elect to see how it goes. That does concern me a little bit, these larger impulsive moves, just how quickly it pulled back up to the top of that structure on Friday. But I'll possibly be happy to take another bite there, as it were. The other trades I had on last week, I had a whole bunch of I had pending shorts on the euro pound and the Aussie US dollar as well. Can't remember either. It wasn't filled and cancelled the order, or cancelled it before it got there. In any case, no trades activated on those ones. The US dollar Canadian dollar was one I had quite a few cracks at last week. Could have gone better, but wasn't all bad. So I was sort of monitoring this $1.29 level pretty closely last week, just after that large impulsive move. I sort of expected it to go into a bit of a corrective structure, which is probably easier to see on the H4, which it has, before falling further. So I was fairly happy with my analysis on that. I managed to get short pretty well right there again, pretty close to the top. Pretty happy. Towards the week before last, and then up just managed to bank a 2 to 1 trade. So that was that one there that I've got highlighted. Close that out for 2 to 1 ahead of the weekend. Monday morning open, it's rallied up pretty strongly Monday morning, and I've elected to have another go, pretty much at the exact same level. That's the 4 to 1 trade there. and managed to get a 4-1 as that fell down. I was targeting a 6-1 trade, which was around that level. It got up to my 5-1 level. I moved my stop up to 4. Unfortunately, we stopped out for 4-1, and it then proceeded to fall back down. Fortunately, which I took a bit of a punt, and in hindsight, probably wasn't the best decision. But in addition to having my original profit target at around there for 6-1, also had a counteracting long on this pair to buy once it rallied, once it hit that. Unfortunately, it didn't rally up at all and continued to stop me out. So across that pair for the bit over a week, it was sort of had a +2, a -1, and a +4R. So all up a 5 return on that particular pair. Less the loser on the British pound and the break even on the Aussie yen. Looking ahead for this week, I'll go quickly because it's a bit slow tabbing between here on the laptop that I'm on. I won't chase the US dollar Canadian dollar. There's nothing too exciting on a lot of pairs. Ones I do like, however, is ones that I already did towards last week, which I already mentioned briefly, was the Aussie yen. I'll probably put a pending order in. I still like this for a short. If I can get a pending order in up around the top of that corrective structure, similar to my last break-even trade, I'll probably pre-enter that. Will be one. The other one was the go long on the Kiwi US dollar. I do still like the look of this for a long a little bit, but again, I'll be monitoring a little bit. It's sort of had this large sort of move up, and it's sort of gone into this corrective structure and form of space. So I do sort of expect it to bounce off this level and then eventually challenge that 74 cents. On the back of that, there's also a daily sort of pin bar that's formed towards the back end of last week on the Friday. If I can get in, put a pending order in there on a retrace to that and try and keep the tight stop, depending on what, put a 25 or 30 pip stop towards the back of that. How big's that there? So if I can get in around that 72.48 and have a stop around that 72.28 and probably chase a 3 or maybe a 4-1 off that. Where's that going to leave us? Yeah, so heaps of scope for reward off that. Probably more. I don't know if I'd chase it that long, but so it's another one. But one that I'll probably actually directly enter at market early this week is, again, the one I got burnt on last week was the British pound US dollar. Still like it for the short for the same reasons I just mentioned. It has had that sort of large impulsive move. It's sort of fallen down in sort of 2 or 8 hours, rallied up over the course of, 16 or 18 hours and achieved half the distance, and then fallen again quite quickly, gone sideways for a bit and then dropped. It does sort of line up with the top of that corrective, that sort of previous support, so it is a reasonable level. You sort of got sort of towards the top end of that. You've got that sort of resistance there and the price support off that level, and it does seem to be stalling there, so I'll probably be happy to take a bit of a short on that pair towards the top of that structure. The only thing that concerns me a little bit with this is just how fast that moved up, how impulsive that move is towards the back end of Friday. But going into the back end of Friday, it carries a little bit less weight than a lot of this other stuff, which had a lot more volume and depth behind it during the main trading sessions. But I would look to try and chase that down to that $1.3850 level, which gives me scope for 9-1, but I'd probably cash out before then. I'd probably just target a 4-1 and bank my profits, depending on how it looks. That's probably what I'm really looking at this week. The other one I'll try to review briefly because it is a pretty major pair is the Euro US dollar. Similar to the pound, but a little bit further in time, I think. Like, it does still have that impulsive move there, and it's gone into a similar sort of corrective structure. But I'm expecting it to sort of bounce off this sort of $1.22 level through here, somewhere in this zone. I expect it to bounce and then challenge that area. but not going to buy where it currently is. I'll wait for a pullback before I decide to get long on that one. I think it's got a little bit further to fall. Just looking at this sort of recently, I think it's the sort of lower lows and those impulsive moves on the H4. It's similar to the pound, the fact that I think I probably could short it, but I don't believe there's enough scope in this pair for it to fall far enough before it hits support. It's probably only got a 2 to 3 R for me before it sort of hits that support level, as opposed to the pound, which sort of had that scope of 8 potentially. So it just doesn't stack up as nicely. But that's probably where I'm sitting this week. And we'll try and keep a bit more regularity with these videos and reviews, and see how we sit this time next week. Right all.